All right, we're back. We'll call the meeting back to order. At this time, we do have a delegation, and it's SEMA, and it is Stuart Winchester that's coming. That's here to present along with Jonathan Lampman. And we do have Chris Trainee, the county engineer, on remote as well. Welcome, Chris. Welcome, Stuart. So if you'd like to begin.
Mayor, members of council. So what we're doing tonight is we're basically going to summarize the responses to the surveys from the PIC, and then we are going to take in, and there's a memo sitting in front of you, and make decisions based off of the information that we received, what council wants to do with the Park Hill, Main Street and Queen Street. I'll turn it over to Stuart from SEMA. He's the project lead on both of these jobs. From SEMA, he's just going to run you through an overview of basically the results of the survey. So you have all the information in front of you when we dive into the recommendations.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, member of council. Can we get the slideshow going? Or? So my purpose tonight is just to provide a brief overview of what was presented at the public information centers for both Queen Street and for Park Hill Main Street, and then to go through some of the results of the survey questionnaire that was circulated to the residents. So if we get the agenda up, not to put pressure on you, but okay, so just as part of the public information centers, we prepared an agenda just to outline the scope and the purpose of the project, outline the preliminary schedule, speak briefly to the staging of the works in each community, and then request some feedback related to any streetscape elements to get some feedback from the public. We did that similar program both for Queen Street and for Park Hill Main Street. So tonight, what I wanted to do is just go through this briefly, and then to give you what we've received as feedback from the public as part of this process. So let's skip too far. For Queen Street and Elsa Craig, the project basically is just to replace and upgrade the water main from the site of the elevated tank down to the south end of town, essentially at Mary Street. As well, we're looking at replacement of the sanitary sewer from Mary Street up to Annie Ada Shipley Street to accommodate planned growth within the area. The whole purpose of the project is to address capacity limitations in the water distribution system, as well as the sanitary collection system in the south end of town. So what we identified as part of the Public Information Center was that there was an opportunity for North Middlesex to incorporate some streetscape elements in the project, because it would be the right time to do it while we've got the road ripped up to replace the water main. At the Information Center, we identified the preliminary schedule to, I think you've gone one too far. Yep. So the schedule was to proceed with the detailed design late this year, a tender later this year for a start of construction in the spring of 2023. Works would be done by the end of the year in 2023. Okay, next, staging considerations. We seem to be out of sync on that one. We're looking at constructing the works in 2 stages. Stage 1 being the area north of Elsa Craig Main Street. And that area would be, the water main would be rebuilt, everything restored before we move to the south of Park Hill Main Street. And that's primarily just for traffic impacts. We know that the traffic impacts south of Main Street is going to be the biggest issue. Okay, and then we spoke about that. Okay, so then we brought forward the premise of the project right now is to restore the roadway to its existing conditions. But we presented to the public that there was the opportunity to consider various streetscape enhancements, such as enhanced illumination, improve sidewalks, pedestrian crossings, perhaps some ornamental plantings or whatever may be considered. And the purpose of tonight's meeting is just to get direction from council to see what council wants to proceed with. So now we can go to start reviewing some of the survey results. So there was 117 people that responded to the questionnaire. And I've got listed some of the primary questions here. We can go through them individually. So question number 2 was requesting any information related to concerns regarding the current state of Queen Street. So the main concern raised was the speed of vehicles on Queen Street. Very little we can do with water main replacement to alter that. Then there's lack of safe pedestrian crossings and a lack of continuous sidewalks along the corridor. So those were the primary concerns raised. Too fast on you, Jonathan, there. A couple of comments also identified some localized flooding in the area. Amenities that they wanted to see were obviously improved sidewalks and improved pedestrian crossings, and provision of some additional street trees. Traffic calming, is a fair number of people that were looking for measures for that as well. We did ask about sidewalks, and the overwhelming majority were all asking for continuous concrete sidewalks. Okay, summarizing some of these, I think that's, I'm sure this presentation will be available to you so you can go through some of these individually. We get to question 6. There was a number of the residents that have identified localized flooding, but I think a lot of that can be dealt with the improved inlet capacity in certain localized spots. A number of residents expressed accessibility concerns, and that was really related to the condition of the sidewalks along the corridor. And then any additional comments that we've requested was related to the comments related to flooding, some traffic safety and pedestrian safety with the lack of crossings, and some comments related to bicycle paths and additional amenities. Those comments were less frequent, shall we say. Okay. So for Park Hill Main Street, we presented very similar information. The scope of that project is essentially a replacement and upgrade of the water main from Park Hill Road to Elginfield Road, and then an extension along Elginfield Road and Elliott Drive out to West Park Drive. Also, a small portion of sanitary sewer replacement in the Mill Street and Hastings Street location. Again, same purpose, to address capacity limitations in your water distribution system and your sanitary collection system. Lost track of where I am here. So. Okay, so schedule. We're looking at advancing Park Hill sooner so that we would be tender ready in about May of this year. To look for an award and the start of construction in June or July with an anticipation of completion by the end of the year. So staging in Park Hill, we're looking at phasing construction in 3 stages, with the first stage being from Park Hill Drive to the Cameron Gillies drain. The second stage from Cameron Gillies down to Elginfield, stage 3, Elginfield Elliott Drive. These stages were selected really to set up for a detouring traffic through Park Hill. So stage 1, we would detour traffic along West Park Drive. Mill Street and Station Street up to Park Hill Drive. That allows everybody to bypass the main street as we've got the road closed. Stage 2 would essentially be the same, except we would be able to detour traffic or route traffic along Mill Street back to Park Hill Main and get them off Station Street for that portion. Stage 3, there wouldn't be any planned detours. There would be a lane closure, single lane of traffic available only. Again, we spoke to potential streetscape elements that could be incorporated through Park Hill. Same opportunities were discussed. And for the survey results, main concerns identified were the speed of vehicles, the lack of safe pedestrian crossings, and a lack of parking. There was a number of written responses that were identified. Some expressed some concern of a lack of visibility at intersections. Condition of the roadway, we all know that that's bad, and condition of sidewalks. The top priorities identified: improved sidewalks and improved pedestrian crossings. I'm having a hard time reading. Trees, additional trees, additional street furniture, and provision of some traffic calming. Again, survey results, most of the people are local. They drive through the area or walk. 45% of the respondents identified that there is localized flooding, most notably at McLeod Street and Ellen Street. Accessibility concerns were identified, both with uneven sidewalks and a number of them requesting improvements into the buildings fronting the Park Hill Main. Okay. So that's primary results of the questionnaire and the feedback received. And as I indicated earlier, really tonight, we're here just to seek some direction from council as to what additional amenities should be incorporated in these projects as we move forward to tender.
Okay, through the mayor to the councillors and to the mayor. So if you look at the memorandum that was written for you, we're going to dive into the motions and start looking at the decisions that we're looking for to progress the design from 60 basically through to a tender stage. So we have cash allowances that were set aside at the time of tender. Basically, there's a total of $65,000 that are sitting there in cash allowances that we're looking to council to make decisions to enter into or just leave as a cash allowance for the time. Landscape design, streetscaping, parking, and lighting and photometrics. So basically the cash allowances out there tonight. So I'll read the motion to you and then open the floor to conversation in regards to that. So be it resolved that council directs staff to enter into a time and material change order through the landscape design cash allowance. What we've included are parameters. They're not necessarily what you have to choose. A, the inclusion of new flower planter boxes. B, the inclusion of mature trees or trees for that matter. Or C, inclusion all of the above. And then each one of these is going to be that we do not enter into. There's always a resolution there that you can say, we don't need to enter into this, therefore we don't need to go into the cash allowance, design, construct, so on and so forth. So in regards to landscape, I'll open the floor. This is Park Hill Main.
This is in Park Hill.
Park Hill Main, sorry. I'll open the floor to discussion, questions, comments. Go that way.
And so we do not have to be that specific as what we want, but more general, just direction as to where council sees it going, all right? So that we can move forward on this project. So who wants to start? Councilor McClinchy.
Okay, when they talk about the inclusion of new mature trees, is that going to be in the downtown area or is it all down through Main Street?
Through the mayor to Councilor McClinchy. There are ways in which we could put trees anywhere. What we've included for in the base contract is the preservation of what is there. So basically the larger trees down to the south end, we've included to protect them and leave them intact. As for the planting of new trees now, no. What we're looking for is if it is council's wish to have a tree out in front of us or have trees in the boulevard as we go down the street, now is the time to tell us, which will initiate the design. So it's up to you, Councilor McKinley, and the rest of council.
So it's in the downtown area, like in the boulevard you're talking about, and like Strathroy has and whatever. They have trees, curved, whatever. Same with Grand, but like they've really, they changed the design. I'm just kind of wondering about when you have it curved out where you have a tree there, like on the main street, that kind of takes up parking, and it's kind of hard to drive through too. But, you know, like I see when I go to Grand Bend or Strathroy, a lot of parking is taken up basically because of that. I don't, that's just my opinion, you know, because if you want to keep the traffic and the people, the businesses going, you want to make sure there's parking, because a lot of people don't like to walk. When you have to park a distance, they just keep going.
So through the mayor to Councilor McClenching, what we've included for right now, and it sounds like it's somewhat in line with your thinking. Basically, we would remove all the existing curb, all the existing sidewalk, the existing road surface, and it would all be replaced, not like for like, it would meet new AODA standards, but basically the same corridor, the same everything would be reinstated. So none of that would be added this way. Right. Yep, it would.
Yep. So that basically, so nothing can't go, especially if they're gonna snowballs.
That's right.
So I was just trying to picture that in my mind. How that was going to look. So, but everything else is gonna be gone. So basically what's there now will be gone, and then it's gonna be recreated, right?
Back to, it'll look very much the same. But
Yeah.
So your preference is don't interfere with parking spaces and traffic.
Well, yeah, because you want to keep, I
Right.
focus on the businesses that are here in Park Hill.
Yep.
You know, they would like parking for the people to come and stop and shop. And I mean, if there's no parking, people are gonna keep going.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree.
And that's my point.
Deputy Mayor.
thank you, Mayor Rob.
I would like to take advantage of the attendance of the county engineer and ask him about traffic calming. We're hearing a lot about traffic calming on both of these roads, which are county roads. Do you have any suggestions on what can happen for that, Chris?
Well, through the chair to the deputy mayor, there are options for us to look at with regards to traffic calming. Some of the challenges that we have, as you well know, is both of these roads are heavily traveled by commercial vehicles, and Elsa Craig, especially more agricultural type vehicles. We have to be very mindful of what we do with traffic calming to make sure that we don't make those roads sort of uncompatible with those types of traffic. So like speed bumps, for example, we would never consider on a county road, partially for that reason, partially for winter maintenance, also for emergency services. So those types of things would be a concern from our perspective. One of the best things for traffic calming, and I was having this discussion earlier today, is things like parking. So having vehicles parked along the side of the road, people will slow down. The more we can create a built environment that narrows the road, whether it's through wider sidewalks, planters, benches, parking areas, roadside gardens, trees, those types of things, the more we make the roadside area look like a town and feel like a village and have a community sense to it, those are, in my engineering opinion, some of the best ways to slow traffic and to calm traffic is to have the people understand that they've entered into a residential or a commercial area. So for example, along Highway 7 or Elginfield Road, right in Elsa Craig, we tend to see the traffic. We don't see a huge concern with speeding traffic once people sort of get down into the area, the business core, I would say, of Elsa Craig. Our challenge is Petty Street coming into town. So some of the work we're looking at and some of the design we're looking at here is to sort of create that town feel. Everybody around this council chamber knows what it's like to drive into Elsa Craig from the south along Petty Street. You kind of all of a sudden you're there. So that we do have challenges at the periphery of Elsa Craig to slow people on Petty Street, but some of the things that we're looking at as part of this project will help us do that. Park Hill, would not as concerned about traffic calming or speed. Certainly people coming in from the north, come around that curve around Park Hill Drive and then they are in town. It sort of comes upon them quite suddenly. But again, there's parking there, there's businesses there, there's sidewalks there. And in the south end of Park Hill, of course, there's signalization, sidewalks. You can't really get up to speed. You come around that corner off of Elgin Field, and generally don't see people unless they're being reckless, sort of speeding up. They know they're in Park Hill proper, and with the signalization that's going to come along as part of this project, that will also help at the south end of Park Hill, Maine. As far as other things, rural traffic calming is challenging. Absolutely. But some of the things we're looking at here, we anticipate to see some pedestrian facilities as part of this project. With the amount of new residential development that's coming online, both in Park Hill and in Elsa Craig, there's going to be an increased demand for pedestrian crossings on both of these roads. My anticipation is that we will see some form of pedestrian crossing, which also will help give a visual cue to drivers that they should be more cognizant of their traveling speed and be more mindful of the fact that there are people crossing the road and pedestrians in the area.
Thank you, Chris, and I'm excited about the pedestrian crossing signage or implements that you're doing. It's great, good news.
Okay, so you want to go each one though.
Okay, right.
So coming to number one, right?
Right. Does council want to direct staff to add any more landscape amenities to Park Hill Main Street than what are currently there? That is simply what we're asking. And it doesn't have to be just trees, park benches.
But
bicycle, or like, the bicycles. Yeah.
Like a rack.
Oh, we could definitely improvement in the downtown area.
But do benches have to go into the, you know what I'm saying, like benches and garbage can stuff, that doesn't have to go into this scope, does it? I'm just asking, I mean, adding benches.
It's really,
I'm asking. Councillor Moyer.
Was there not, just a few years ago, there was might have been Scott, I was just here, there were a bunch of benches that were purchased.
Through your worship to Councillor Moyer, that was actually through a grant. We put more park benches down Park Hill Main Street and Elsie Craig Main Street as well. Again, kind of to what Jonathan Lampman's speaking to, we just need some general direction. If in this instance, this is a little bit of the boilerplate of the comments that we had from people, what they're looking for. But certainly if we keep it broad enough that we say you would like enhanced boulevard streetscapes, we've got enough direction to know that that's not curb, that's more mainly to amenities of park benches if we can fit them in. But I would say we have enough park benches. It'd be more the park amenities and maybe planters and stuff like that. But this is part of the broader conversation today. This is what we're looking for.
Yes. Item 2, where sidewalks and different accessibility and curbs and that would be more important items that I would see.
Go ahead,
Okay,
Jonathan.
So just to close number one.
Yeah.
Be it the kind of what I'm hearing. The recommendation or motion would be it resolved that council directs staff not to enter into a time and material change order through the landscape design, cash allowance, and utilize the current landscape elements and features along Park Hill Main Street.
Do we need to make a motion on all of these? Or just, I guess it's easier almost to go with a motion, because if we go with direction, we're all
Right.
all over.
They're over. So,
Right.
oops, sorry.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion on this first
Well,
one.
I'll make that a motion. Okay, so you got A, B, C. You're just saying about flower planters and mature trees and whatever. I just want to see the main street being very attractive in the downtown area, that it's appealing, that people want to get out and they want to walk and they want to shop, they want to do whatever, you know. I'm just thinking of the business people and recognizing when you're going through Park Hill that it's a place, you know, people just zoom through Park Hill. So maybe they will, the beauty of it all will maybe change their attitude about maybe wanting to stop. Because we are growing and we got new people coming in and they want to be able to enjoy their town as well as the business. So it's something that we would want to give to the residents of Park Hill and visitors that's coming.
So through the mayor, the appurtenances like the benches, the bike racks, the trash receptacles will be added.
Okay.
We don't.
They don't have
need-
to be in the scope of this project. That's what we're,
So what do you
Those
really-
type of elements when it comes to landscape and that will be added. We can set that aside. We don't need to do any design. to put them
So
in.
am I misinterpreting this then? So what is it, that you're,
This is specific to the comments from, through your worship to Councilor McClinchy. This is specific to the comments to the survey. We're skinning this one a different way with the direction that you're giving us, that will include it as part of the general provisions, more or less, for the improved design and ultimate construction. This is what the best way of looking at any of these motions is going above and beyond what would be standard. So the perfect example to Councilor Moore's point, cobblestone or brick sidewalks. That was a comment that came out of the survey information. And that's why it's being tabled as such. But if we're keeping the same with or slightly different variations, we can roll it in generally. So this, we wouldn't execute this landscaping cash allowance. That's what we're.
okay, so to keep this moving,
yeah,
let's go back to number one. And if the thoughts are that we don't do anything in the scope of it, we'd be looking for a motion off of this, that we don't, that would be C. I mean, but
We don't enter into the cash.
that we don't enter into it, that it's done
Right.
later, that we do it without this scope.
Right.
That's all we're dealing with tonight is just the
Okay.
scope of this work.
so I mean, kind of.
So you're making the motion?
Yeah.
Okay, seconded. Counselor Nichol, all in favor? Carry. All right.
Okay. The second, be it resolved that council directs staff to enter into time and material change order through the streetscaping design cash allowance. Items of consideration: inclusion of enhanced sidewalk being brick or cobblestone above or instead of concrete. Inclusion of streetscape design elements via improved curb and radii in order to facilitate more pedestrian geared streetscape. Or it is recommended that the current sidewalk remain concrete. And then, of course, there's the last one that you do not tell us to enter into it. Now, streetscape is something that we've been discussing. So these do not have to be adhered to. If you want to see something different with streetscape, you bring it forth now, we enter into the cash allowance and we design accordingly. So I'll open the floor to conversation on streetscape elements.
Okay. I will say overwhelming, just a comment is that I think it was 88% or something like that said maintain cement, concrete sidewalks. And maybe when we do those, we'll have a little better pedestrian friendly, more accessible because at the corners, it'll be a better than what the old ones are.
So through the mayor and so
So that's
council's
just
aware,
maintaining cement,
Yeah.
concrete sidewalk.
our base has that. Basically, right now, what we've designed will be curb, sidewalk, 2 AODA standards, tactile plates at the corner, small additions, but basically maintaining exactly what is there, just replaced as new.
I think too, with the concrete sidewalk, it's a safety issue. You know, because if you get cobblestone, interlocking brick, stuff like that, sometimes they lift, people trip, fall. You know, so concrete, I think, would be my choice.
Looking for a motion, unless there's more motion for concrete sidewalks. Seconder, Councilor Kehoe, all in favor? Okay.
Do you want to move on to 3?
Yeah.
Okay. Be it resolved that council directs staff to enter into a time and material change order for the streetscaping. So for the inclusion of pedestrian crosswalks, if we want to move curb in and out and create physical parking stalls, what you have included right now is basically a plan drawing or overhead drawing, and we're going to paint parking stalls along Main Street as it is. So we're not going to change anything that with the existing curb. It's going to stay the same, maybe out a little bit. Parking will be painted, but if you want to change how that curb runs, if you want to add crosswalks, stuff like that, that's the cash allowance that we would enter into at this point to start designing.
And through your worship, this is a similar one to be considered on the next motion. They're intertwined, but this one specifically, I think we got to mix up a little bit, John. What we're talking specifically here is about pedestrian crosswalks.
Sure.
So the thing is, how many are we talking about crosswalks?
It'd be up to council. So does council want one? Do they want,
Well, that.
would council like one near the school? Would council like one downtown? Do they need one at the north end?
I would agree that we have more than one. Two, maybe three, pending, but I do know around the bank, the post office, that's a.
Mill and Hastings.
Yeah. that right
Mill and
there,
Hastings.
That's.
But now, as long as they're proper crosswalks, not that,
So
Yeah.
at this time, I'd ask the county engineer to jump in.
Yeah, and this is part of the analysis we're trying to do. I mentioned it for Elsa Craig because of the Radcliffe subdivision, right? Where is the most appropriate spot for that crosswalk? It can be anywhere in a number of locations along Petty Street. The Park Hill question again, when we signalize at Park Hill, Main and Elginfield, does that push the need for that? Excuse me, push the need for that crosswalk further to the north? You know, as far as we're seeing students going down and crossing the road to go to Tim Hortons or whatever. So we can evaluate locations. A painted crosswalk, I gave some information to the CEO earlier today. It's, about 3,000 to 3,500. As soon as we start putting lights on those things, you can multiply that by about 10. They'd be about 35 grand, up to 50. And I'm just talking about the push button flashers. There are thresholds we like to see to be close to or to be sort of anticipated in sort of a window. So, Radcliffe's perfect example. Right now, there's no demand for a crosswalk on Petty Street, but 5 years from now, we could certainly see a huge increase in the number of people who choose to walk to either to the park or, to come into the Main Street on Elginfield from sort of the backside. Those types of things we'll see. So we can plan in advance, and this job is a perfect one to do that, to look at those sort of future demands that we can determine. And the same thing in Park Hill, right? We dipped our toe into the crosswalk thing, and it lasted a few months, and we took it out. Again, we move it further north. One thing to consider is that the formal PXO, whether it be lit or just the white signs that give priority to pedestrians, does eliminate quite a number of parking spaces. So the crosswalk we put in previously, we didn't have to ban parking as much as we would have to for a PXO. So we're mindful of that. And we're trying to pick an appropriate location that's not going to cause a hardship to the immediate businesses in those areas. Especially in those cores. Now, the thing about Park Hill, when you get into Park Hill, there are plenty of gaps in traffic. Traffic generally moves a little bit slower. It's one of the challenges we see in places like Dorchester. We've had these experiences where people cross the road where they feel comfortable. They don't specifically, travel laterally down the road to get to the crosswalk to cross. If there's clear traffic and traffic's fairly slow and it's a narrow roadway, they'll just scoot across the road where they need to. But in the areas sort of down by the school and areas like on Petty Street, there, in my opinion, there's more of a safety demand there. People will be more generally channelized. There is an origin and destination in some of these places that make more sense, and crosswalks would be more effective in those locations. So just things to be mindful of. And again, these are certainly things that we can do as part of this project, and there's certainly things that can be done in the future. So the county is supportive of it. County has crosswalk guidelines, but right now it's just trying to think about cost and suitability for several locations. And like I say, there's some listed in this report, and these are not exclusive. They could be other locations as well, or these could be modified.
The one question I'd have to you, Chris, is on McLeod, the corner of Main and McLeod, that is where the school crossing is.
Yeah.
That's where the kids cross. And to me, a proper crosswalk where those kids are crossing during,
Through your worship, that's actually Leonard that they cross on.
sorry, I said McLeod. Yeah, but
I know
at
where you're
that
speaking of,
corner,
yeah.
I think it's pretty appropriate to have a crosswalk in there with lights. That's my thought. I would throw that out to the rest of council.
What about up where you talk about Mill and Hasty?
Yeah, well, I was just saying about this one first.
Yeah.
And I know that's closer to the Elginfield corner, but we don't have parking there in that area. So it really wouldn't affect any parking, but to me, it's a school crossing. That would be a great spot to have one, I think.
Well,
And then you can talk about, Hastings and.
well,
Mill.
I'm just taking in consideration the amount of traffic that goes through here all the time. Zoom, 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 zoom. It's a risk factor for anybody trying to cross over the road. I know through the summertime, it is heavy duty and they go fast. And if there's nothing there to stop them from not slowing down, they're going to keep going fast. It just seems that way. So we need to look at something, I believe, in the downtown area, like Mill and Hastings as well. Because there's a lot of seniors and a lot of people that's, crossing over going different places.
Okay, so let's hear from some more people what they think is. Go ahead, Councillor Nicol.
I understand your point about getting people across the street, especially in the summer. But you're also concerned about your parking spots. So if you're putting a crosswalk through, you're going to lose, I'm going to guess, four spots, like 2 spots on at least each side of the crosswalk. Would that be correct? Plus the crosswalk itself?
It's usually more like 8 parking spaces. We
Eight?
had a
That's a lot
challenge
of
with that.
parking on Main Street when there's nowhere else to park
Why
on
do you
Main.
have 8 parking spots?
Well,
To
it's
slow the traffic down.
It's 30 meters on either side. It's more of a visibility issue because the traffic, technically the traffic, it does have to yield to pedestrians in these PXOs or pedestrian crossovers. So in order for us to provide drivers with enough visual acuity to someone waiting on a curb to make a crossing, they have to have visibility to that crossing, and it's not insignificant. We had this very similar challenge in downtown Glencoe, and we actually backed away because, again, it to do a PXO, whether it's lit or not, you do have to, you see the shark teeth, the shark teeth ahead of the crosswalk where vehicles are supposed to stop. There's this distance beyond that where you're not allowed to have parking again, so people can see pedestrians coming onto the road. So the standards are there for a reason. I think they're good standards because we're talking about vulnerable people, especially if you're talking about seniors, people with mobility issues, children. So the one closest to the school, I understand, much easier for us to facilitate that. There's not a demand for on-street parking in that location, and I would suggest we would ban it regardless if we were even doing a normal school crosswalk. But when you get into downtown, this is where we have challenges in the downtown areas, where if you go around into some downtown areas around here, you'll see in the business core, if there's signalization in the middle of the core, you won't see a crosswalk. Most times they'll come around that, or they'll be on the very periphery of those business core areas. So you'd have something at the south limit or the north limit or both. But when you're talking about putting something smack dab in the middle of town, it becomes a challenge. Just if heaven forbid, someone who would get hurt or killed in a pedestrian crosswalk and we did not adhere to those standards, we would certainly be in a position where not only a liability risk, but just ethically and morally, we would put ourselves in a position we would want to do that. So we would look at that again. This is not something that, Jonathan, we can't say today what the limits would be or where it would go. they would make these differences or these changes, or whether the parking spaces in those areas are something that's critical or not. But again, we have to be mindful of the space that's required to install a proper PXO.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
Well, it's really, just using Lucan as an example. They have an intersection, I guess, an intersection light with it. It's right near Foodland at Lucan, in the heart of Lucan. Now, when those lights turn, is that when people can cross over, or I'm not sure how that works. It's just red, green, and I'm not, can you tell me about that? Why that light is there? Right
So
where the Foodland is?
Well, through the
And
chair,
it's
that's a provincial highway. That light's been there for at least 25 years, if not
Oh,
longer.
okay.
There was no signalization in Lucan, as you probably know, until last year when we put up the traffic signals at the south end of town at
Yeah.
Sainsbury.
So,
Well, the
okay, so
ministry
it's,
put it up. So,
okay.
but there's a parking lot there, right? Like the Food Land has a big
Yeah.
parking lot. There's
Yeah.
lots of parking available off street across the road. There's another
Yeah,
big
on both
parking lot by
sides.
the Donnelly Museum, right? So there's lots of space for people to pull off the road into a parking
Yeah.
lot. So banning parking in that strip along where that push button traffic signal isn't as big a challenge in Lucan, because people aren't parking on the street. They're pulling in the parking lot and
Yeah.
using those areas. We don't have that in Park Hill generally. So that's part of the challenge.
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
Chris.
Other comments? Councillor Hemming.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Yeah, I would definitely agree with you on that having a proper pedestrian at the school at Leonard Street.
At the school corner
Definitely.
at Leonard.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Other comments? I mean, we want to keep going here. So what's your wish here?
I could read the motion again and kind of.
Well, I
frame it
mean,
for you.
it's right in front of us here. It's in and around Hastings, in and around Leonard, or not do anything.
John, if you wouldn't mind, I think it would be,
School crossing. For Leonard, for that Leonard crossing, seconded by Councillor Hemming. Is there more discussion on that? In favor? Carried.
Next 4. So the recommendation or motion in front of you is, be it resolved that council directs staff to enter into a time and material change order through the street parking design cash allowance. A, B, and then obviously if we don't need anything, we don't enter into it. Again, we are going to paint parking stalls up and down Park Hill Main Street, which will identify parking. But that is the end of where it is right now. That's what we've considered.
Do you
So-
feel that will gain a couple of spots?
There's a possibility it could.
Okay.
Question, there will be parallel, right? Are they going to be the way they are right now, or are they going to be like this?
Parallel.
Oh, not the
It's
other
same
way.
as they are now.
They're not going to be the other way.
No.
Well, I just thought maybe that'd create more parking.
It's just not wide enough.
Yeah, I know. I
No,
know.
it's- we
It's
don't
like,
have enough right
it's like,
away.
well, I just.
Is this,
Like
yeah,
Tilson.
I mean, we've been talking about not decreasing parking, so.
Yeah, I know, but I thought it the other way, but then the street's not wide enough. I was thinking of Godrich.
Okay, let's make a motion on this. I don't think there's too much discussion on this one, is there? Someone? What's your motion?
Not to enter into the cash
Yeah,
allowance.
not-
Fine.
Okay, seconder. Deputy Mayor, all in favor? Carried, okay,
Okay. And the
we're
last-
rolling now.
The last for Park Hill Main is, be it resolved that council directs staff to enter into a time and material change order through the lighting and photometric design cash allowance. This basically, do you want new streetlights all along Park Hill Main Street? Are you happy with what's there? We have built into the contract that we're going to temporarily support what is there and then put them back in, or, leave them there and then put concrete around them and they're back.
Councillor Nickel.
Personal opinion, I think that Park Hill Main Street looks really nice with the lights on it.
They're
My
not very
personal
old
opinion.
either, I don't think. Councillor Keel.
Thank you, Mayor Rob.
Do we not already have something in the works with the Legion about banners for those lights there?
In Elsa Craig, not,
Only-
not,
only Elsa
only
Craig?
in Elsa Craig. Right
Okay.
now, it's only in Elsa Craig.
Thank you.
So you're saying that you like the lighting the way it is? What do you think, Councilor McClinchy? Okay. No, and
So I guess that means I made a motion.
make a motion, a seconder? In favor? There we go.
Through your worship,
Yeah.
before we leave Park Hill Main Street, there's various stages of how we interact with these cash allowances. I would just open the floor to anything that we're missing. This is a boilerplate again of what we projected was from the survey results. So if there's anything we're missing, this is the time to bring it up.
And yeah, because that was the last one for Park Hill, right? And I think that's what I was going to ask before we move on to Elsa Craig. Is there something you'd like to, Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I thought I saw in this report somewhere signage.
So that would be the Wayfair
Yes.
signage.
Yes.
Stuart, do you want to speak to that a little bit in terms, that was more of a survey question. I don't know if we have the right allowances in place to kind of do that, although we could probably place it into the streetscaping, maybe.
We could certainly add it in streetscaping or any of the allowances. The comment, I believe, was that there was a request for wayfinding signage. In that, I think I would need to have a significant amount of direction from staff or from council. What ways do we want to promote? What destinations do we want to identify and add the signage for?
Right. And this could be done at a later time as
And
well.
that can start at any time.
Okay.
And that would be a good one to have Middlesex County Economic Development meet with, people meeting with our staff as well and just come up with, I think too, we should have county economic development maybe in on that. Anything else with Park Hill that you'd like to see that we're at this time that we're? No? Okay, let's carry on to.
Motion for consideration, Queen and Petty. It's going to be the same motions, the same cash allowances, the same thing again, but now considering Queen and Petty. So be it resolved that council directs staff to enter into a timely material change order through the landscape design cash allowance. Same kind of things. Trees, planter boxes, stuff like that, or we're okay with what's on Queen and Petty and we do not need to utilize that cash.
I'd make a motion for F for all of the above, because that'll, I believe, as the gentleman from the county said, it'll help slow down the traffic. So some mature trees, some planters, make it like it's lived in all the way through.
Okay, through the mayor, would that be, just so we understand, both sides of Petty Street, or, okay. Queen Street north of Highway 7, are you proposing that it goes there, or Highway 7 south?
I am proposing that it goes down Queen, but only to basically where the houses stop there, not down around the curve. So just basically, it'll be just past Church Street, I guess it would be. There's about 3 houses past Church Street, so I'd like to see it go down that far, just because it slows the traffic coming in the other way as well. So certainly not all the way down the water tower, no.
Okay, so trees and planters both sides of the road, I'm assuming,
That is correct.
and then south of Highway 7.
Planters and trees all the way.
Okay, understood.
Can I ask you a question, Councilor, if I may? Is that something we can approach like for the planters and that kind of stuff, approach the existing group that's already looking after that to expand their program? Because we would be asking them to water them probably.
So that would be the Business Association and the Lions
Yes.
Club. I think that
I-
they could be involved in that conversation, absolutely. I'm thinking just more about slowing down traffic, like there's got to be a way. If benches work better than planters, I'm all for benches, but
Okay,
we've
no,
got to
just-
slow traffic down coming towards town.
It was just a question that I was,
No, I like that.
Yeah.
If we can get them to do it.
because
that'd
they're
be
the ones who
great.
are gonna do the watering. And I don't want to say you got 30 more.
Through your worship,
And it's your-
to Councillor Nickel, what I would actually propose is that from the conversation I'm hearing is that we design for it And then that council would engage the group to let them know about what the expectations would be, or refine the design as we go through. To your point, if they added planters and watering is going to be too exhausting for them to do, then we switch tactics to benches and trees or some other form and function that would kind of give us the latitude that we need to slow down traffic.
Councilor Moore.
Yeah, with the new design, there will be, I don't believe there's curbs along north now. There would be curbs. So, yeah, I mean, you're gonna have that little bit more of a feel of pulling into a village as well with the.
Through the mayor, basically, so we're just frame heading and clean. Most of the work is actually in asphalt, so the existing sidewalks that are there will remain as they currently are. All of our work is in more, right? So we've not considered any new sidewalks. We've not considered, I mean, curb, yeah, we're likely gonna run into curb, but not the sidewalks, because there's a small boulevard. But we are not considering replacing the current.
Yeah, the current plans would only consider replacing what we damaged for extending services across to the private property line. Right, so we would probably take out 2 bays of sidewalk to take a water service to the property line. It would reinstate what was there.
And I believe in your survey, there was comments that don't widen the sidewalks. That was one of the comments in the survey, I believe. Not to widen the sidewalks, so that will leave that little boulevard there.
Through your worship to Councillor Nickel, unfortunately, if we do touch the sidewalk, we need to meet AOD standards. It's deficient right now, I believe, at 1 meter. We have to go to 1.5 if we disturb it.
So it either stays the way it is or we have to change the whole thing.
Yes, but that's one of the decisions that we'll get to. Okay, yeah. Currently
Okay.
not in the construction budget.
Okay, we're still on that first one.
So
And-
what kind of distance is there where that curb would go to the sidewalk? How large is that boulevard?
Couple of feet.
2-3 feet, give or take.
I don't even think
So
it's
really,
3 feet.
is it a place for benches and stuff when you're that close to the road?
Too tight for trees.
Planter would fit, trees would
We
fit
haven't got
a
it.
little
We're still
bit.
discussing the motion. I don't wanna-
It becomes.
So-
Yeah.
Hmm.
That doesn't necessarily mean that we put it everywhere, but we're definitely at discussion with but that's why we're here today talking about what the provision you want to see.
So it'd more than likely be trees rather than benches or planters, something like that. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's just something for that visual, visual
so we got a motion in front of us right now, and that's for F. Like I'm sorry, but I know their Leafs are playing in Hamilton, aren't they, in that open air game, but we'll get to see the highlights at 11. But we do have a motion for F, correct? And a seconder. We need a seconder. No second? Okay, Councillor Hemming seconded it. All right, so F is all of the above. In favor? In favor?
Are we talking about Queen Street North as well as South? Petty.
Mostly south. Mostly south. Petty, when she says petty, that's
Okay,
south.
so what you're talking about, I thought I understood you as north as well.
It's just to the edge of the town, yeah.
Yeah,
So
is there
2
sidewalks
blocks,
there now?
2 blocks. We're not.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, in favor?
Yeah, might as well.
Opposed? Just me. Okay, it's passed. Okay. Where are we? Man, this
The
is
next, okay.
brutal. 7.
The next, we're
7.
talking about sidewalk. So, as we just discussed, sidewalk is not currently within the scope. We
Right.
are gonna be doing some trees and plantings along there, which means we are gonna be working within the boulevard.
But that's not even in the scope. The sidewalk and stuff, that's not in the
No.
scope.
So if you would like improved sidewalks,
We would like it, but
Now's the time to add them. If not, then we will open the cash funds. Leave them as.
do we can,
I just have one quick question.
Yeah.
Do we need to upgrade the sidewalks to AOD standards if we were to put an illuminated crosswalk in to go across?
we're
Penny
not
Street?
touching the sidewalks at that point.
I'm just asking if there was.
Yeah. Okay.
If there was a request for an illuminated crosswalk, say at the Legion Street for new subdivision children to go over to the splash pad. You know, that's another traffic calming item that Petty Street could handle.
Mhm.
Would the sidewalk need to be upgraded to put in?
If we put
An
in a
illuminated
cross,
I'm just asking a question.
I might defer to Mr. Trainee on that, but my opinion is if you are providing a pedestrian facility that is encouraging people to use that sidewalk, it should comply with.
It should
the
be,
AOD,
okay, thank you.
requirements.
That's clarification. Thanks.
Through your worship, I'd also like to mention that there will be curb disruption as we just go through and do the asphalt a little bit. When we hit that sidewalk panel that relates to the curb, most likely tactile plates will be installed. And it's one of those margin ones that we'll have to touch as we kind of go along. So there'll be subtle changes, but really the consideration before you is, do we widen the sidewalk? Do we keep it as is? Do we add sidewalks to both sides in AOD and compliance? Which would be very costly probably in this exercise because it's 2 runs of sidewalk. If we both go in, we'd have to rip up one side
So-
completely.
so what about a street light? That's not yeah, but okay, that is, all right, we'll finish this one. We'll finish this one, which is sidewalks.
I'll make a motion to leave them as they are.
Do
Concrete.
nothing.
Yeah.
Yes, and in favor. Carry, yes.
Okay. Be it resolved, the council directs staff to enter into a time and material change order through the streetscaping design. So this is where we're talking about a crosswalk, in particular at the Annie, Ada Shipley and Petty Street crossing, which we've all identified through conversation today. Do we want to see a crosswalk there as part of this design? Or like Chris was saying, address it when needed after, based off the development? That's basically the question.
Yeah, I think that is the proper time to do that, because I would like to see, and I'll direct this to Mr. Trainee, that we consider streetlights, actually, if we want to calm traffic coming into Elster Craig. Having streetlights at that corner would slow traffic down coming into town. Just rather than a crosswalk.
Well, through the mayor, all those things could be considered, absolutely. What I'm going to suggest as part of the design, and this does not need to be talked about tonight because this is a nominal cost at best. We'll lay conduit at those intersections where we anticipate to see crosswalks. We don't have to come back and bore those later. We'll have them in the ground. We'll know where they are. So we do have to, if we do decide to go with a lit crosswalk at any point in time in the next 20 years, those will be there. We can pull cable through those and install those without having to go through the road bore. Because the asphalt's already going to be torn up, this is the time to put those in the ground. And I also agree that this would be better coordinated with the construction of the subdivision, because as you know, on the east side of Petty Street, there are no sidewalks on that road that's going to lead to the subdivision. So people will be walking on the road, jumping on a small piece of sidewalk, and then crossing the street. So there's certainly some pedestrian infrastructure that will need to be considered on that side leading into that subdivision. So we'll be prepared for any eventuality in order to save us some costs and time later on. And again, these are all great locations to think about crosswalks. As far as illumination goes, I mean, Jonathan's been talking about a little bit now. It's not in the contract to put illumination in. If that's something we want to do, it's certainly something that could be considered as part of this design. We didn't hear that, as far as I know, in the survey. It wasn't really discussed, I don't think, in too much detail on that survey, from what I recall, but I defer to Jonathan on that issue.
Okay, but I agree, that's the time to look at this. But if we put that in the ground now, then we can do something on the future. Perfect.
We'll do a future provision, basically. We'll show the conduits crossing the road, future provision.
Okay.
Crosswalk light, whatever. Understood.
All good with that? A motion for that? Counselor McClinchy, Counselor Keel, all in favor? Carried.
Okay. Number 9, be it resolved that council direct staff to enter into a time and material change order through the street parking design cash allowance. So as it currently stands, we are not contemplating any future inclusion of parking other than what is there.
Right.
Same thing, the painting of parking stalls, basically. Not
Green,
even at
yeah,
this point,
yeah,
no.
yeah.
Now, to that point, the county is going to pay this year. I don't know if they're gonna get that far. Chris will be able to speak to that, but there is gonna be the addition of a bike. That is gonna be, Chris, I'll let Chris speak to, because I'm not sure what side of the road or when, but there is gonna be a bike lane that comes in Nelson.
Both sides of the road from Center Road all the way to Elsie Creek. So we're doing the section from Center Road through Nairn all the way to Elsie Craig. We're widening a few spots in Nairn as part of this project. There's some bridges that eventually are going to be widened when we get to those capital jobs, but there'll be a couple of choke points right outside of Nairn. But the plan is to utilize those paved shoulders is really what they are now. We don't see a lot of parking in that area, street parking in that area. So the intent is to continue the paved shoulders that are currently on Petty Street all the way to 81 Highway or Center Road. So it's both sides. So from a county perspective, I would not recommend painting parking stalls. We did hear a little bit of that in the survey, but from a technical standpoint, if we want to preserve space on the asphalt for cyclists, it's not designated as specific cycling routes, so we don't have to ban parking per se. But again, it's the intent is to have that continuous route because that's part of that cycling network for the county up to Highway 7 and Elginfield. There's some cycling there as well. So it's our big project this year is Petty Street from south of town all the way down to Center Road.
Okay. Did you have a question? Counselor Nickel?
Is there any thought of doing that all the way down to, like, let's say Black Bridge? So down Queen Street to Black Bridge, because
That's
a
not the
lot
co-
of
That's not the
people-
county.
that's
That's
not,
us.
that's not county?
That's us. County
So we
stops
can't-
at number 7. County stops at number 7, correct?
I give up the trees for a path.
No, the county stops. That's an in-house conversation that we'd have to have at some point.
Just for that bicycle lane you're talking about, are we talking about 2 or just 1?
Both sides.
Both.
Both
So that's
sides.
gonna be from where Queen, Elks Craig, number 7 at the funeral home or wherever, there, number 7, and we'll go right down past Narren, cross over the intersection light, heading whatever,
Up
west.
to 81.
Yeah,
all the way to
holy
81.
man. Like,
Yep.
really? Who came
Yep.
up with that idea?
It is part of the Middlesex County cycling strategy.
Oh, really?
Okay, yes. And Chris just can't
Hope they have
answer
a
because
bicycle.
he's laughing.
That's all I
as much
got
as I am.
It is part of the
Middlesex County.
cycling strategy. And I'm just looking at
Yeah,
it now on
it's-
my other screen. So
And-
actually Petty Street north of or Queen Street is proposed to be a signed route. There's no hard
Oh, it
infrastructure
was
there.
news to
It's a
me, but I
municipal
just
road.
wondered who created that idea. They hope they own a bicycle.
No, anyways, it is part of the Middlesex County cycling.
There's lots of reasons for the widening of the asphalt. It's not limited simply to cycling. We have lots of issues with agricultural traffic and break-offs of the edge of the road and road safety and those sorts of things. So see the mayor trying not to laugh about it, but there's a lot of reasons why we're improving that infrastructure, and active transportation is a part of that. It's an important part of that. Our active transportation plan is not for early on. The public was we're not taking small children out on these routes, and it's not for people who these are hobby cyclists a lot of times. So we're trying to facilitate this for a number of different reasons, tourism and fitness. And we see the people ride their bikes. I'm sure you've seen them from London all the way out to Grand Bend and back during the summer. So it's a good investment for us. It reduces our shoulder maintenance, which is getting very dear because of the cost of gravel. It makes it safer in the wintertime. It provides people with a little bit more time to recorrect if they do go off road. They're not onto the gravel shoulder quickly. They have more of a chance to come back. And we've heard nothing but kudos from, we did I forget 25 or something kilometers or more than that last year in Thames Center. And we've heard nothing but good things from the farming community that it makes it so much easier for them to move their vehicles around. They're not rocking halfway off the road. So the platform's really the main reason that we're doing that along Petty Street, but it is that there definitely is a benefit to cyclists to get them out of the traveled portion of the road, provide them some space, and even pedestrians have told us they like the fact that in a rural area they can walk on a hard surface versus in the gravel or in the grass. So there's lots of reasons that we did that. The report went through reams of public consultation, and this was endorsed by county council a number of years ago, and we just started building infrastructure last year. So
Okay, not that I'm against it, it's just that I was not updated on any of this planning on the bicycle lanes. That was county council issue. I don't believe that has really come too much to our council. It may have, but I understand too from the safety issue of it as well. So, but it was a county council, which I was not aware of. So,
well, it certainly integrated your own local cycling strategy. There are some cycling facilities within North Middlesex that are implemented as part of this plan. So it was meant to bring everybody together. So we had a consistent plan. But from a county infrastructure point of view, we have a commitment from county council to do those improvements to their county road system and the county highways. In North Middlesex, we are going to see that on Nairn, on Petty, on parts of Elgin Field, and then some actually along Townsend, and then some signage on some routes. Once we have sort of enough cycling infrastructure actually physically built, we're going to work. The next stage will be promotion and signage and things of that nature. So it is funded through the county, but there is a significant amount of new and improved infrastructure across North Middlesex for sure.
Okay, let's keep moving here.
So parking.
Do nothing, right? Deputy Mayor and Councilor Moyer all in favor.
Last but not least, lighting along the Queen and Petty corridor. So currently, and everybody here has seen it, we have lights off the Hydro One poles in the south, and not much to the north. Maybe a couple. Do we want to add lighting? Do we want to look at it? A and B are there, and then the do nothing option. So open it to the floor.
Comment I'll make before I get questions is we just put a lot of LED lighting in our towns, and those are pretty new lights, but Councilor Nickel,
Do nothing. They're fine.
is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Okay. Seconded by the Deputy Mayor, all in favor. Carried.
Anything else? Queen and Petty, is that?
Yes. Yes, I have one. And that would involve the county on this, and that is while we're doing this improvement on the intersection on Elgin Field Road and Petty. Better sight line and better scoped for trucks to get around. That would be one I think is, and we've talked about this before with the engineer, but I would like to see that happen while we're doing the changes there. And I won't, I'll leave it up to scope change, but that's one thing I'd like to see looked at.
So Stuart, would you suggest that fall under streetscape?
Sure. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. We could do it.
I mean, that's something you're working with the county on. It's the county's road, but I mean, it's that's just an opportunity, I think.
Yeah, just so I'm clear, you're looking at westbound left turn movement onto Petty?
Yes.
Yeah, well, both. Just the whole thing is tight and they can't make the turn. Yeah. Right now, it's really kind of a lane and a half there coming to Main Street.
So,
Okay.
And
the addition of a right turn lane, set the left back with, our stop, our.
so the
Okay,
turning
so-
rate,
so-
right now, a lot of times cars have to back up for a truck to get through. It's just an ongoing bottleneck.
So through your worship, just so that we're clear, because of the constraints, this might just be an investigation. There might not be
there might be some optimization in terms of low hanging fruit, but a full left turn lane might be rather hard to accomplish in this instance.
Well,
Yeah, that's the,
we'll look
okay. We can look at it.
We can investigate, see what we can come up with. We can work with the county and see if we can come up with a solution that addresses that.
when
we're
we're digging it up, it
fully
seems a
addressing-
shame not to do it at the same time.
We gotta take as many wins as we can on that
Yeah.
corner.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're gonna make it 402. I'm just saying an improvement to the turning radius.
Yeah.
Right.
So I do think we need a motion for that one though, and we don't have one prepared, so I keep it generic that
Improve sight lines and
Turning radius
turning radius at the Petty and Elgin Field
intersection.
intersection.
it be it resolved that council directs staff to enter into time material change through the streetscape design cash allowance. And we can work on that, the refinement for
You want a motion on that?
for enhanced for an enhanced intersection for conveyance on Elsie Craig Main Street and Petty.
Done.
Okay. Counselor Nickel? Seconder, Counselor Keel, in favor? Carry. Is there anything else that we're missing that anybody wants to? No, I'm looking over here to see. All right, we're good.
Thank you.
We're good. Thank you very much, sir. It's been a long evening.
Thank you very much,
We're
Chris.
not done yet.
Thanks, everybody. You're good for me there, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, thank you very much, Chris.
All right.
Thanks for your
Thanks very
time.
much. Good night, everyone.
Good night. I have to say that might have been one of the oddest times I've spent here at council tonight, but we got some direction to go forward. Okay. So committee reports. Lake Huron Pipeline, anything to add to that, Councilor Hemming? Okay. ABCA,
Yes, we have Dave Janet or Jewett was not the chair because Mr. Cook stepped down and Marissa wants vice chair. And I believe, John, you've got a new schedule of proposed levies and charges from the Tobago.
Through your worship, I actually received a couple emails from them. One of them was the consultation period for the changes to the Environmental Protection Act as it relates to the ABCA. And then I think I did receive the other one a couple of days ago. I just haven't gotten around to it.
Other than that,
any questions for me? Blue water recycling?
It's pretty,
Definitely nothing to add.
We have a meeting coming up this month.
The rec committee?
Yeah, we had a meeting last week and we had an interesting, good discussion on trails, and we had the Lambton Shore Trails guy come out and the ABCA. It was quite interesting, so we're just looking for some information.
There is a couple of groups within GBA.
Yes, that would like to form a group, and it looks pretty good, actually.
Policy committee,
We have a meeting on the 17th, I believe.
okay. Fire committee,
Nothing at this time, Mayor.
community development. And so we have a recommended motion that I'll read everyone on that. The community development fund meetings have concluded for 2022. With the minutes dated February 17th, 2022, the circulate to the members be hereby accepted as final.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a statement that we went through it and it went rather well. And we tried to stay as consistent and fair as we could, as we have done in the past. So
I think a couple of things that we looked at was a couple of the groups have been very tough 2 years with no income coming in, and they still had to keep, pay for the hydro and stuff. So I think
I actually do have an update for this one finally. Through your worship, we haven't met for about 7 or 8 months due to the pandemic. And today was the first meeting of this quarter, and for that time, Aqua is going through an exercise right now for strategic planning and stakeholder engagement. So we're part of that process, being on the client advisory board. Additionally, what they are also doing is revamping some of their asset management components and are shuffling the initiatives in terms of the organization more to innovation and hydro reduction. So we've been part of a pilot project. I think today, with some of the latitude that I saw in the presentation, we might be asked to do it again. So there's some positive things coming around the corner that will have some, hopefully some net benefit for us on Aqua's behalf, as it would be.
We're still looking for more clarification. It's coming from the ministry, from the Fire Chiefs Association, and I believe the Association of Municipalities is also looking for clarification.
How much more is it asking of our own firefighters to do this? We don't really know that.
No, I probably have more questions to the questions I've asked. But the line that they keep saying is they're not asking us to train to anything beyond what we're already doing. And we anticipated this reintroduction of the certification regulation. So we've maintained what we've been doing over the past 5 years. So we're in good shape.
Well, that's what I was, I guess when I read it, that's what I was wondering. What's going to add to our, oh, sorry. What's it going to add to our impact on our firefighters?
I haven't determined that yet, but I think it's going to be minimal.
Okay, maybe when you do get clarification, you can just do a short report to us just to see, to confirm that.
Yes, we'll do.
I'll open it up to the rest of council. Okay, is there other questions? Okay, thank you, Greg.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Other business, other and urgent business. I'll start, there's nothing on the list right now, but I want to mention that Aqua was out till, I think, after 12 last night because of the water being down yesterday. And I know they were at a hydrant in front of my place about 11:30. So they were, I want to thank them for their efforts to, we were down to a trickle by the end, we were just at a trickle. But they got it up and going. And so just wanted to take a second to thank them for all of their efforts last night doing that. So, any other business? Seeing none, deferred items are in front of you. Communications, including the county. Just before you go to the deputy mayor, I'll remind that there is a bicycle path design that the county's following. I just in case you, I do believe the deputy mayor has brought it forward, but it was a while ago that we brought it forward. It hasn't been an impact on North Middlesex until this year. It's the first time we've had roads.
I think I mentioned it last year, right after county budget, I believe.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go
Anyway, in terms of news from the county, the only thing that I have, Mayor Rob, is the Women's Caucus received a grant to hold a upcoming election preview for anyone who's interested in running in the upcoming election. It'll be March 26th from 9 to 1 at the Wellness Center in Kamoka. And Mayor Rob, I don't know if you have anything to add.
No, it was a Zoom meeting that was a half hour long. It was just some very short business on that meeting. But I will say that on Tuesday, county goes to, the council sees the budget. Tuesday morning, we'll be doing a budget meeting. So to look to finalize the county budget. Okay. It'll be on, we're going to be there in person, but it will be streamed. It will be streamed. So reading of the bylaws.
First time today. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have 4 bylaws for consideration tonight. For first and second, we have 17 to 20 of 2022.
Counselor Moyer, Counselor McClinchy, all in favor? Carried.
And for third and final, we have 19 to 20, 2022.
Counselor Hemming, Counselor Keough, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Adjournment. Counselor McClinchy, Counselor Keough, all in favor? Carried. We'll just wait till we're off.